Chapter 1 in Global Economics is a lot about scarcity and choices that we make. The first concept that we've got to get a grasp on is scarcity. We need to understand exactly what this means. It doesn't mean that you go to your local Walmart and they're out of an item. Scarcity is the characteristics you must have, the item must have value, it must be useful to someone, and it must be in short supply in comparison to the number of people who would like to have it. So if we talk about garbage, garbage would not be an item that's scarce because it doesn't have value and it wouldn't be in short supply compared to the number of people that would like to have it. Resources, basically economics is a study of how we use our scarce resources. So resources are the things that people use to produce what they want or need. Most goods are produced from basic resources, and we know that most of the things that we have in life are wants and not needs. Needs are those very basic essential items that we could name basically on one hand. And wants are those things that we desire but we could definitely live without. And that's most everything that we have in our life. When we look at economics, we have to look at making choices. So we have many choices every day. And when we purchase items, we have a multitude of choices. So when you go to McDonald's, you have an entire menu of items that you could purchase that day. And everything that you don't purchase is a trade-off. So if you purchase a Big Mac, the trade-off is everything that you didn't choose on the menu. An opportunity cost, on the other hand, is the next best alternative. So let's say at McDonald's you narrowed it down to a Big Mac or a Quarter Pounder. So a Quarter Pounder was your second choice, but ultimately you chose the Big Mac. So the Quarter Pounder would be your opportunity cost. In other words, you gave up eating a Quarter Pounder in order to eat a Big Mac. Same as this picture here. If you choose to buy a burger and fries, what's the trade-off? Well, the trade-off is everything that you didn't buy because you had an opportunity to buy anything at this concession stand. What would be the opportunity cost? Well, whatever your second choice is. So if you narrowed it down to 2 items and then chose the burger and fries, your opportunity cost would be what is your next best alternative. In economics, resources are anything that we use to make goods and services. Now you should know from previous courses, previous classes, what goods and services are. Goods are those tangible things that you can buy, such as t-shirts, soap, cereal, anything that you can touch and feel. And services are those actions that people perform. Services like at a doctor, at a lawyer, teachers, police officers, dentists, anybody that provides some type of service that's useful to others. In economics, we have to talk about the 4 factors of production: natural resources, human resources, capital resources, and entrepreneurship. Natural resources, you should already know, is anything that's found in nature that can be used to produce goods or services. Land, oil, dirt, trees, grass, greenery, anything that we can find in nature. Human resources are when we take the efforts of people, labor, and we turn natural resources into goods and services. Now, make sure that you understand this doesn't have to be physical labor. Human resources could be planning, organizing, managing, distributing. I don't consider my job as a teacher particularly physically laboring. However, I do work every day, and I do plan and organize and bring lessons and grade and do things that would be considered labor. Capital resources are human-made items that are used in the production of other goods and services. So, for example, if I'm a farmer, then a tractor is a capital resource. If I'm a banker, then a computer would be a capital resource. If I am a construction worker, then any type of tools that I use in construction would be a capital resource. Don't confuse this with the accounting definition of capital, which is money. We will be talking about productivity over and over again in economics. Productivity is very, very important to how our economy operates. So the definition for productivity is the amount of goods and services that result from the input of a certain amount of natural and human resources. So if I was to ask each one of you how productive you are, each of you would have a definition, and you would probably be able to answer with pretty much accuracy on whether or not you are a productive person or not. I would base this on your study habits. Are you able to sit down and get work done in a timely manner, or do you waste time? Do you do 4 other things at the same time? So the book gives an example of Ford and building cars. In 1913, it took them about 12 and a half hours to build one car, which is an incredibly amount of time. But in 1914, just 1 year later, they were able to build a car in 90 minutes, which is a great improvement, probably due to some type of technology assembly line, something that they implemented. But this would have caused them to make a great deal more of money because they could produce so many more cars in a day. Last, but certainly not least, is entrepreneurship. And that is the work of people who start a new business, who come up with a new idea, who develop new ways of managing factors of production. And these people are those who are willing to take a risk. They're willing to start up a new business with no promise of succeeding, because many do not. So we encourage entrepreneurship in this country because we want people to create new ways of doing things, and we want people to start new businesses because that helps our economy. Now, in economics, we use a lot of decision-making models, graphs. We'll be looking at several things throughout the semester. The purpose of using them is to maximize our choices in the economy. So we will look at objective and subjective information before we would make an economic decision. So objective are those things that can be measured, those things that I would consider black and white, numbers, facts. And then subjective would be based on our likes and dislikes. If you and I were to discuss anything, whether it be food, whether it be clothing, whether it be music, what we would purchase would be completely different items based on our likes and dislikes. We haven't been brought up in the same homes. We haven't experienced the same things. And you cannot measure personal preference. So that still has to be taken into consideration, obviously, when making an economic decision. So what we have to do is weigh the costs and benefits. We have to look at our opportunity cost. For example, many of you will be deciding soon whether or not to attend college, and if so, what college you're going to attend. And you will have to look at the opportunity cost of one college over another college. There's many trade-offs. There are tons of colleges to choose from. So when you look at that, you will have to decide what is my best option based on the opportunity cost. In economics, we will look at a graph called a production possibilities curve. And here is one straight from your book that shows what are the production possibilities of working a 20-hour work week and doing yard work. So this is based on, in a 20-hour work week, I could either mow 20 yards at 1 hour a week, or I could trim 10 bushes, which would take 2 hours per job. So the y-axis shows bushes, the x-axis shows lawns mowed. So if you look at point A on the graph, it shows that the opportunity cost of trimming bushes for a customer is that you would mow 8 less yards. So in other words, if you were to trim 4 bushes, which would take up 80 of your hours, you could only you could only mow 12 yards, because 12 plus 8 would be 20 hours. So if you look at point B, if you trimmed 7 bushes, which would take you 14 hours, you could mow 14 less yards, because 7 times 2 is 14. That would be 14 hours. You could only mow 6 yards, because 6 plus 14 is 20. So there are questions on the next slide. You'll want to look at these questions, look back at the graph, maybe listen to that again. I can do some more explaining in class, and make sure that you understand how a production possibilities curve works. And there's a video here that you can also watch on your own time. That's the end of chapter 1. We will be doing some activities in class, doing some work, and answering your questions after you have watched this video.